Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 1788 of The Uncockables. I'm your host, David Hiscox. I'm the editor of XYZ Magazine. I'm here with special guest Tim Wilms from The Unshackled. How are you, Tim?
I'm good, thanks. Well, I am a special guest tonight because I am pretty sick at the moment, so it's special that I actually made it to do the show tonight.
Yeah, a few hours ago you were saying you weren't going to come on, but yeah.
Oh, well, I was just hibernating and just seeing how I felt, but the show must go on.
The show must go on. The truth must get out.
We commit to 8:30 every Thursday night.
8:30ish, but Dave was late, yeah. And we also have Australian Meditations here. Thanks for coming on.
G'day, David. G'day, Tim.
Cool. Yeah, for people who want to know, like Matty, the reason he's not here is he was asleep at 5:30. And I heard that Steel Archer is at an undisclosed location. It is soon to be independent West Cape of South Africa. And James Fox Higgins was going to be on, but he decided to go to the strippers. Yeah.
I think Maddie made me sick through the internet last week.
Yeah, Maddie made you sick. Yeah. Maddie's giving you AIDS.
Yes, yeah? the winter AIDS.
The winter AIDS, yeah. Or Ebola. I'm not quite sure. Yeah. Okay, so we've got some Australian politics to sort of do a little bit of preamble on before we sort of work our way through a Vox article, which is basically a really interesting piece of propaganda where they've tried to appear even-handed on the Antifa riot in Portland. But we'll talk about some of the goings-on in Australia the last couple of days. Parliament is back in session and the government has put through some tax cuts, so it's pretty nice. It'd be nice for them to put through some immigration cuts, but it's a good start in my opinion.
Yeah, the promised tax cuts in three stages where I think it's Australians on average going to have an extra or over $1,000 back in their pocket. Which is good, and it's been great because this is the first week the Parliament has been back this week, and Labor is all posturing like, oh, we'll pass the first two stages, but stage 3 it's beyond the next election, so you don't have a mandate for it. But this afternoon Labor caved. And Albo said, well, our amendments failed. It's going to get through with Jackie Lambie and Centre Alliance support, so we're going to pass it anyway. And so there's been a meltdown of leftists on Twitter, the usual people, Van Badham, Jane Caro, saying this is just like losing the election a second time.
Their tears are beautiful. That's fantastic. I love it how Labor are all for economic stimulus when it's a matter of taking money from hardworking people and giving it to other people, but they're not for economic stimulus when it's simply like we're going to take less money from everyday Australians. I just love that aspect. Great to see you drinking the milk there too, Matty.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually saw a video of Pauline Hanson being interviewed on Sky News just before actually about these tax cuts, and she was saying that we should kind of instead of the money going to Australians like saving, it should be invested into like infrastructure, because according to her, people are going to spend that money on literally Chinese TVs. She actually said that, Chinese TVs, and she mentioned that the money's going to be spent on like goods and services that are from overseas, and she didn't want the money to go outside of Australia. So she kind of recommended that somehow we should just hoard the money that would have been saved and just invest in infrastructure. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't think that's practical. I don't know how you can actually do that practically, but I understand her sentiments about the money staying in Australia, but I don't know, it just seems very unpractical to me.
Well, yeah, if we want more Australian manufacturing, then lower the price of electricity, invest in nuclear power so that we can get cheaper electricity, reduce regulation, and reduce taxes more, encourage business and encourage industry to come back to Australia. That's the way to go about that. Yeah.
I have a feeling that Pauline, her refusal to pass these tax cuts were punishment to the Liberal Party for preferencing them below the Labor Party during the election.
So what you're saying, Tim, is that she's a jealous woman?
Well, yeah, like politicians, they're all vindictive.
Yeah.
Like, and she wants to make a statement. I'm not just gonna, rubber stamp things. You got to treat me with more respect this time.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
Malcolm Roberts, he's back in the Senate this week. He said, "I'm going to expose the climate change scam."
Oh, good on him.
Uh,
It's so good to have that.
Yeah, and
he'll be useful.
it's in the Senate. He's actually seated in front of Janet
Rice.
Rice from the Greens, and I'm not sure if you saw it today. Like when he was
I saw it.
speaking, she made like a face at him.
It's the sort of thing you'd expect from the XYZ on April 1st.
Yeah, or she has apologized for it now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mm.
Do you know what's funny? A funny story about Janet Rice is I actually kind of spoke to her on radio once. This was during the it was very weird. It wasn't a direct conversation, but I was on radio, and then after I hung up, she mentioned my name, and she said that she disagrees with me because I basically called up ABC Radio. I think it was John Fain, who's a massive lefty, obviously, and I was telling them that if Australians voted yes to gay marriage, we're going to lose our freedoms and stuff, which is literally already happening with Israel Folau, and then afterwards, she basically tried to, rebut that. But I remember she was saying before I got on the radio that she's actually married to a transgender person, or she married a guy, and that guy is now a girl or something, or vice versa.
Yeah.
I forgot which way it was, but the person that she married, it's the opposite sex now. So she's proud of that. And I'm just wondering, how crazy is that? I mean, she's probably the only parliamentarian who is married to a transgender person.
What?
And she still loves him, or her, whatever it
Yeah,
is.
well, she was arguing for like same-sex marriage or marriage equality because her husband, because it was still technically her husband at the time, because he didn't change his gender on the birth certificate, because before same-sex marriage they'd have to get divorced because like it'd be a same-sex marriage.
Right.
So I would assume now that her husband is now her wife and is now legally a female because they've got rid of the trans divorce laws.
Yes. I wonder if she considers herself a lesbian then.
Well, yeah, like
I just don't know. It's why we used to outlaw this sort of stuff, so we didn't have to ask these weird questions.
well, she pulls faces in Parliament. So.
Yeah, that's right out of the XYZ playbook. That's all I can say. Yeah.
I just got informed that she is no longer dating that person.
Oh, really?
So there must have been a separation.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
So
yeah, moving things along, I heard that Tim Wilson was sworn into Parliament. Was it today or this week?
it was back on Tuesday. Well, he was already an MP, so they're sort of re-swearing everybody in. And like normally, the tradition is you either swear on the Bible or take an affirmation, or because we have Muslim MPs now, they swear on the Quran. But he decided, being the classical liberal that he is, he decided to take a copy of Milton Friedman's Capitalism and Freedom and swear on that.
Jeez. Are you serious?
Yeah.
I didn't say that. Wow.
Hey, can somebody tell this guy that it's not 2015 anymore? Libertarians are like out.
Well, he's from Goldstein. I'll emphasize the Steen part. I mean, what else do you expect from a place like that?
People tell us in the comments, given that you can basically swear allegiance on your favorite book now, what if you were swearing allegiance, whatever, like swearing an oath or whatever, what book you would choose?
Swear on Siege. That'd be epic. Yeah.
But that's crazy, man. I didn't know that. That's actually a shame, because you think that the Liberal Party claims to be sort of conservative, and then they've got people sort of undermining traditional values like swearing on the Bible. And I remember back, this is kind of connected to the Israel Folau thing, is that all these politicians who are swearing on the Bible and who support that, they're kind of like, I remember this, what's the guy's name on Sky News? What's his name? That old guy who's like a bit of a conservative.
Andrew
No,
Bolt?
the other guy.
Dean?
No, the other guy. I don't know. There's some Sky News person, and you're basically saying that to become a politician in Australia, get a job, you have to swear on the Bible, but you can also lose your job for quoting the Bible. And it's actually, I know it sounds a bit weird, but it's actually true. Like,
Is that Chris Kenny?
Chris Kenny, that's the one. Chris
Yeah,
Kenny.
yeah.
So that's not me saying it. I'm quoting Chris Kenny, and he actually gets it right sometimes. As much as I kind of think he's a bit of a cuck, he's absolutely right on this issue. And you know, I don't know if we've spoken about Israel Folau, but I've actually it's really bothered me, this whole situation with Israel Folau. It's really bothered me. Like it's so annoying, and the fact that this happened, and it seems like the whole sponsors, they're the ones who are pulling the strings these days.
Well, the fact that the Qantas chairman actually had to deny that he had anything to do with it, that tells me a little bit something.
Well, he said like, I didn't have anything to do with it, but I supported their decision.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course he had something to do with it. Yeah.
Apparently the government had something. The state and even federal government was also saying putting pressure on them. I don't know if you read that article. It was posted on the Australian Christian Lobby Facebook page. So for those who don't know, definitely go on the Australian Christian Lobby Facebook page and check out this article. I think it was posted a couple of days ago, but there are claims that the state government and even the federal government were sort of putting pressure to get rid of him. Yeah.
Well, they're saying with the court case that because it's a new area of employment law that sponsors can advocate one of your employees be sacked. And so this is going to be the big question. Like, do they have that power? That's what they're going to be saying the case is going to come down to, because it's sort of something that hasn't happened before.
Right. So does that mean that if Israel Folau wins against Rugby Australia, he can then sue the sponsors if it can be proven that they pressured? Maybe that's why, like, you've got Alan Joyce up there saying, no, we had nothing to do with it, because he understands if they lose, then he gets sued next.
Well, Rugby Australia pretty much confessed that we had to sack him, otherwise the sponsors would walk. Like, they said, they sort of said, like, oh, it's not, we weren't taking, like, a moral stance, we were just shit scared of the sponsors.
Yeah, that's it. Maddie, I've been making the argument a lot that the left seem to be just trying to stick to this argument that it's not about free speech. This isn't about religious discrimination. It's about breach of contract. But the whole point of his contract is that it restricts his freedom of speech. It's religious discrimination if your contract, which is basically written up in, like, basically trying to signal to the left. It's been written up on left wing, like to basically just like completely capitulate to the left. Like that actually, that's actually that's what's wrong. Like that's what's got to be challenged. That system of like people are employed and they understand that they have to basically not speak out against all the left wing things that their employers are doing.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is, there was something that happened, and is kind of connected, in England. I don't know if you heard about that black social worker who was from the Sheffield University.
Yeah, tell our viewers about it, because I saw it in my feed, but I was too sick to actually read the story.
I've done a bit of research on it. Please correct me and fill it in, because I only watched one video on it, but apparently this guy is a social worker at like Sheffield University or something, and he made similar statements to what Israel did on Facebook, I think it was, and then they kicked him out of university and he couldn't be a social worker or something.
Wow.
And basically he took it to court, and he took it to a couple of courts, and the first one basically upheld the university's decision and basically went as far as to say that even if you are in church and you say that gays are like going to hell or something, I forgot what he said, but he said something along those lines or something, we can still get rid of you and fire you. And we can still disbar you or whatever. And that was like even in a church. So literally being in a church and saying your religious views, that court upheld that and basically said that that's okay. And then he took it further to some higher court, and that court had the sense to say, no, it is ridiculous, and the university was wrong, and they basically nullified the university's decision and the other court's decision, and basically found that he has a right to his religious views. So I don't know, like, this is weird, but there are rumours going about religion, and even nationalists, there are people in certain nationalist circles in Australia talking about registering nationalism as a religion. I know it sounds crazy, but we've thought about it, and things may or may not be in the works about trying to sort of register Australian nationalism as a religion, because we're getting kicked off Facebook, we're getting kicked off every freaking platform, and if we just had like not a Bible, but I don't know, maybe a Bible, I don't know, some sort of version of our holy views, and say that miscegenation is wrong, and make that as a religious view. If you're part of this religion, you're against that. Have all our views that way. If we literally quote those sentences that are in our so-called nationalist Bible on Facebook, whatever, we wouldn't get fired. I mean, I don't know the legality of it. Apparently, it's very easy. I actually spoke to a constitutional lawyer a couple of weeks ago about this, and he told me that it's very easy to register a religion. You don't even need, that many members. You just need to create a website or something and list your beliefs, and there's a few other things that you need to do. But it's very easy to create it. The hard part is just being taken seriously. Because to be honest, most Australians, if they saw that, would laugh and scoff at that. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, and it is ridiculous in a lot of ways, but it's kind of like desperation on our part, and I'm happy to admit that, because we need to be able to say what we want to say, and if we sort of made it as a religion, then I'm sure the law can protect us to a certain extent, especially when it comes to employment. I think that's if things go well with Israel Folau, we can definitely do that. And after I spoke to the lawyer, he told me that just wait and see with what happens with Israel Folau. If things are positive there, then it might be worth going full steam ahead and literally doing this, because it'll actually give us protection to a certain extent.
That's really interesting on a number of aspects. I've sort of made the case that Christianity is the nation and the nation is Christianity. I see the way, one of the reasons we Europeans have why our countries have been given away is because we've moved away from Christianity. The only we would have to find a way to come to some kind of common ground with the Odinists amongst us as well. But that would be actually quite interesting. The other aspect of that is that Scott Morrison is actually talking about a Religious Discrimination Act. Personally, I think we need less laws in Australia.
I know, mate. And it's just going to help the Muslims.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's it's going to be, they're going to use it as a way to have Sharia law practices enshrined in Australian law. It's a double-edged sword.
I don't think we could expect to use it in defense of Christianity. The way that the justice system is rigged, and the way that who controls the culture, yes, it would favor Islam. Sorry, you were going to say, Mehdi.
No, you can finish. Go for it.
I'm done.
All right, cool. So I was going to say that I've heard this so many times where, for example, the Bill of Rights. There's always a debate going on about whether we need a Bill of Rights. Now, I actually like the idea of a Bill of Rights. I like the American system where it's enshrined, freedom of speech, etc., in the Constitution and Bill of Rights, etc. I wish we had that here. I know John Howard's definitely against that, because you're basically giving more power to lawyers or something. I forgot his argument. But the point is that I think there's room for it, and we really need it, especially in this day and age. But unfortunately, if we were to have a Bill of Rights, these lefties are going to hijack it, and they're going to, make rights like you have a right not to be discriminated against based on your sex or whatever. It already kind of exists anyway, but they'll make it more official and make it enshrined, embedded in a very important document. It's like sacrosanct.
They would likely enshrine abortion rights as well.
Yeah, exactly. It would just be taken over. So hypothetically, I like the idea of Bill of Rights in principle. I like the idea of creating, what was the other topic that we talked about?
Religious Discrimination Act.
Yeah, Religious Discrimination Act, exactly. That as well. But I just know that the lefties are going to basically morph it into this Muslim-loving document. It's going to basically give us some protection, yes, but at the same time, we'll get taken to court for criticizing Islam,
So on one of the points that you made before, you were saying that people wouldn't take nationalism seriously as a religion. With our laws the way they currently are, though, that wouldn't necessarily be the point. If it was made a religion, we wouldn't need them to take it seriously as long as we had some kind of protection. That'd be actually quite interesting.
Yeah, because I said before, it'll be like, hypothetically speaking, if we, made it a religion, people would laugh at us. I admit that it's just ridiculous, but it's come to a point where I'm happy to cop that flack, just to be able to express myself, because I would like to be able to quote, on Facebook, I don't like, miscegenation or whatever my nationalist beliefs are, without getting banned and without getting fired from my job. I think the employment stuff would be in our favour, but I don't know whether Facebook would give a shit if we're still promoting our religion. I think they just don't give a fuck anymore. They'll just ban you anyway, even if it is a religious view.
Well, yeah, you heard what the lady from YouTube said. Like, she said, we don't care what, all the things that the US Congress say. We're just going to keep doing what we do. Like,
Well,
it's actually going to take legislation to actually make them change. Yeah.
There could be, laws put in place that, Facebook can't ban people, but we just saw at the G20, Scott Morrison, he spearheaded this compact that all the G20 nations would put pressure on the social media companies to weed out terrorist and violent extremist content.
Yeah, that's Jacinda Ardern's baby.
But to get the US on, because they were concerned about free speech, it has to be violent and it has to be terrorist. So, it has to be legit, not just like extremism.
Yes. Well, see what happens if they sort of get that foot in the door and then they...
But I was pleased with what the US was sort of, basically able to sort of, mold it so, it's actually referring to, ISIS chopping off heads.
Yeah, okay, good. Well, while we're on the topic of violent extremism, it could be time to have a look at the Antifa riot in Portland this week. What's really interesting about the Antifa riot in Portland is that for once the mainstream media has actually been forced to basically put the microscope on the violence by Antifa, because somebody other than a normal straight white male has been beaten up. They can't... It's very difficult to call a gay Vietnamese person a white supremacist.
Yeah. Let's have a look at the attack.
Yeah.
Oh no, wait.
We can simulate it. Hang on, hold still, Tim.
Oh, here it is.
Fucking hound, bitch!
There we go. Well, we should point out that he is not the first victim of Antifa violence, but in the eyes of the mainstream, and when I say mainstream, I mean mainstream conservatism, he's the acceptable victim, we can condemn that, because Ryan Fletcher from the XYZ, he was assaulted by Antifa.
Yes.
Martin Hartwig from the Unshackled, he was assaulted by Antifa. Not a word from the mainstream at all, not even from the conservatives.
Well, yeah, there was no word on Martin Hartwig. With Ryan Fletcher, Stan, the movie company, whatever, the TV company, they literally took that event and lionized it. They merged Ryan Fletcher with Blair Cottrell. And in their version of Romper Stomper, Blair Cottrell gets beaten over the head by Antifa members outside at an anti-halal rally. And then the show goes on to lionize and glorify Antifa. So it's Ryan Fletcher's one thing, but this guy, they can't honestly go, oh, okay, yeah, he's a Nazi, he's far right. He's not.
Yeah. Andy Ngo, he worked for Quillette, which is, well, it's not a far right publication. Like,
No, you said it wrong.
Far right.
There we go.
It's a classical liberal, like, you know, one of those intellectual dark web, as it's termed. Like Claire Lehman, like she's the editor of it. She's an Australian. Like, it's, you know, sort of very sort of, you know, intellectual. Like, you know, it condemns like identity politics on the left, on the right. So, you know, very normie friendly. I mean, it's pretty mainstream. I mean, Claire Lehman gets on a lot of mainstream stuff. Like it's pretty acceptable. And so, yeah, when the attack happened, like, you know, there were like Sky News, News Corp, you know, like, look at these Antifa thugs, you know.
Also, there was an older white guy who got bashed. Like, you see the photos, there's blood all over his face.
Another guy, was his name Adam Kelly, I think. He was the one that like had to have stitches in his head.
Right. Yes, but that hasn't got as much attention.
No,
yet.
and his GoFundMe got about $10,000, but Andy Ngo's one got $150,000.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. So we see immigrant privilege right there as well. Yeah.
Well, do you know what my reaction to the whole Ngo thing was? Just when I first saw it, my initial reaction was, okay, this guy's gay and he's Asian. Why should I care about him? Like, that was literally, I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. That was literally my reaction. And the only reason why I kind of support him is because the lefties bashed him. Like, if it was right wingers, I would not care, and I don't even care if the lefties bash him because he's not one of me. But still, I kind of still support him because, you know, it makes the left look bad. So I kind of do support him in just a bit. But it's not really a big loss for us because it's not really our brother. And if I was an American nationalist, I wouldn't consider him on my side. I just consider him a useful idiot, basically. But to me, it reminds me of, like, okay, what the lefties are just doing what we did back at Eureka when we were pulling their pigtails off. They're just throwing, you know, acid or whatever they're doing, milkshakes. Obviously, they're doing it for the wrong reasons because it's right wing, and we bashed them because they were Asian. So obviously, they got their priorities mixed up. But the thing is, mate, like, I don't think anything's gonna happen from this. I just think it just makes them look bad. I think we should milk it for what it's worth. And it's a shame that they're trying to minimize this because they said, the reason he wanted to get attacked, he came there so he could get attention.
Then why did you take the bait?
Why did you take the bait? I mean, if that was your intention, if you knew his intention was to get attention, because he wanted to be attacked, why did you give him that pleasure? It's ridiculous. So I just don't like how the lefties, they're always excusing their violence. And I think, what's it going to take for the cops to actually do something about this? Because at the end of the day, I think he had internal bleeding. His brain was bleeding or something. I forgot exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of do feel sorry for him.
Yeah.
You know, he's a human being in the end. He might not be, you know, a racial brother, but he's still a human being. You know, what's it going to take for the cops to, you know, fix these things in the future, avoid these things, you know?
And I know that, like, because they've been trying to defend, like, oh, he's not a neutral, like, journalist, this Andy Ngo, oh, he's, you know, docs and Antifa members he's hung out with, you know, white supremacists. And when they mean white supremacists, they're talking about, like, the Proud Boys who organised the Patriot Prayer Rally. And I'm so sick of, like, this, like, you know, it's perpetuated that the Proud Boys are white supremacists when they're not. I mean, their leader at the moment is a Cuban American. Like, it's such a tired, like, it's, if you say, like, white supremacist, or Maddie would like me to say white supreme pizza,
yes,
like, enough, then it's true, and, like, no other actual facts will matter. So, you know, it wasn't a rally organised by white supremacists. It was a civic, nationalist, free speech, libertarian organisation. That's what the Proud Boys are.
Yeah. Well, and just a quick thing about what you mentioned about how a lot of white nationalism is being taken over by Asians and Latinos and stuff. Well, even in Greece, I don't expect this, but a lot of people are very angry about Golden Dawn, because Golden Dawn, and even I am, because I'm like, what the hell are they doing? It's supposed to be the most right-wing group in Greece, and they've actually endorsed a person who's half Jewish in their ranks as a candidate for the next election, which is next week. Okay, and a lot of people complaining about this. They've also, in the European elections, they also endorsed non-Greeks like Bulgarians and stuff just to run because they didn't have enough people to run. So they were just, endorsing people who weren't Greek to run for these areas. And on top of that, the guy, the half Jew guy that they're endorsing, he's very famous. He used to coach basketball for Greece and soccer and stuff. Anyway, the point is that he on a show, on a nationalist show, he basically said that there's a famous Greek basketball player called Giannis Antetokounmpo. He was voted the best basketball player very recently in the world, and he basically said that he's Greek. So this Nigerian guy is Greek, and it's weird because I've been following Golden Dawn for ages, and I know what Greek nationalism is about, and they've been saying that only whites can be Greek, and then all of a sudden they're endorsing someone who's half Jewish, and he's also saying that a black Nigerian who, all right, he was born in Greece, he was raised in Greece, apparently he's Greek as well. It's ridiculous. Like I'm very disappointed, and it seems to me like globalization is kind of undermining nationalism, to like true nationalism. A lot of people that you thought would never give up on their principles are actually giving up on them and basically diluting, their principles and putting some water in their wine, as the Greeks say, for the sake of getting votes or whatever. And I think it's really bad because it's not going to work out for us. We need to stick to our principles, basically.
Well, yeah, that's pretty much the same criticism that Adam Piggott had of Fraser Anning. Like he's basically saying, look, he's the best option that we have. But if you're going to be an Australian nationalist, why are you having a candidate run who's like an Indian?
Paul Taylor.
Paul,
I was supposed to interview him today, but I was too sick. It's been rescheduled.
The guy is based. I've seen Paul Taylor's views on Islam. The guy is absolutely based on Islam.
I'm sure he is.
I'll give you one. I'll just provide a story, okay? That I want people to really understand, okay? When Greece fought for its freedom in 1821, we fought for about 9 years against the Ottoman Empire, and we lost a lot of people and we killed a lot of people at the same time, and we finally got our freedom. Now, at the time, okay, you had Europeans, French, Germans, Austrians, who came to Greece to volunteer to fight the Ottomans, and they were called Phil-Hellenes. Go on Google, type in Phil-Hellenes, Phil, Hellenes. So they weren't Greeks, they weren't Hellenes. I'm a Hellene, okay? But you, okay, Tim, I'm sure you're pro-Greek. I would consider you and David Phil-Hellenes, because you're not Greeks, but you're the friends of Greeks. So Phil, or Philos in Greek, means friend, okay? And those brave Germans and French and whatever, they fought for Greece, okay, and they died and they shed blood for Greece, and we called them Phil-Hellenes, as we should. So why the hell, 200 years later, are we calling a black basketball player who, all right, he represents Greece, whatever, and he scores 3-pointers and stuff, fair enough, but he hasn't shed blood for Greece, he hasn't done anything for Greece in the big picture sort of thing, but people call him Greek. How the hell can you all of a sudden call the Germans and stuff Phil-Hellenes, who literally died for Greece, but you're going to call a black basketball player who hasn't suffered at all for Greece and died for Greece or shed blood for Greece a Greek?
Yeah,
and
right.
it just amazes me because there are so many Greeks who consider this person Greek, and it's like if he wasn't a basketball player and you just saw him on the street, you just think he's Nigerian. So is it because he's got a good job and he's like number one that all of a sudden is Greek? No. It shouldn't matter what your job is, just because he's making Greece famous by promoting, scoring goals for us.
because people have never heard of Greece before.
Whether you're Greek or not. What determines if you're Greek is whether you're actually Greek. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's my 2 cents. But I really think you can actually apply that to Australian nationalism and American nationalism. We cannot afford to sacrifice our standards for the sake of political correctness and votes or whatever the hell they're doing it for.
Yeah, well said. Well said. I actually saw a photo of that basketballer today. I was surprised. I was on the tram and I saw down on Burke Street, like on a sports store, I saw an African guy with a Greek flag, and I'm like, what's going on there? I had no idea. So that was him. So the globalists must love him.
Jesus, yeah, there you go.
Never heard of him, but yeah, until today.
Like we said, because Antifa, they've attacked a gay Asian, it's like there's actually now serious backlash against Antifa and their logic that he's like a fellow traveller of the Nazi white supremacists. It's not being believed. Like even CNN's Jake Tapper said that this is horrible, and there's now like mainstream Republicans such as Ted Cruz. There was a U.S. Congressman he's wanting Antifa to be listed as a terrorist organization. There's now a White House petition, and I already said this on my own Waves podcast with Martin Hartwig last night, that if we're going to deplatform extremists, like surely Antifa, because they organise on Facebook.
Yep.
Like that's like all the local ones here, the Campaign Against Racism and Fascism and all those various groups, they all organise on Facebook. Like surely, like they should be deleted from Facebook, PayPal, Patreon, everything.
They're not just extremists, they're violent extremists.
Yeah.
I.e. they're terrorists. They commit violence for political ends. They are terrorists. Yeah, that's it.
I mean, you don't go like if you're there to counter protest, you don't go along with crowbars and metal pipes.
Yeah.
Apparently, like
Bike locks.
A way to like what they were trying to do to discredit the reporting what happened in Portland was that the reports of cement milkshakes that was poured on people, and like there were chemical attacks. It's like, we were throwing milkshakes, like we were giving out milkshakes and like we were encouraging people, but they didn't contain cement. And it's like, so you didn't engage in chemical attack, but you still had these crowbars and other weapons.
Yes, exactly.
Well,
we still hit. Yeah,
it reminds me of that guy who accidentally threw a milkshake at Tommy Robinson. He actually said it was an accident. I mean, it's ridiculous.
He tripped. He did. Yeah, it's an absurd defense.
Well, apparently, like, because this is how sort of far they've investigated like a cement milkshake is actually impossible, because the sugar in a milkshake, it actually dilutes the cement, so it doesn't actually like work like cement. So I don't know, will they make a Mythbusters episode about it? Maybe.
Probably, definitely Snopes. Yeah, you can guarantee the old cat lady will be on that. It's worth looking at this Vox article in that case, because we've covered some of the material in there, but the way that they've tried to present this is very, very interesting, because like the fact that you've got mainstream figures, like you've got politicians, and you've got mainstream media journalists like actually saying, okay, Antifa actually went too far, this is an act of violence, you can't do this. Vox, who are basically a cheerleader for Antifa terrorists, realise that they've got to try to do something to reframe the debate, because they're in retreat. They've lost control of the narrative. They've basically put out this article where they've said, it looks like somebody's being attacked for no reason, but you've got to understand the context of it. And so it's a very long article designed to sort of... I often refer to like the way that the left put out their words. I refer to it as magic. It's like they try to like create these spells with their words. Or you could just say that it's just like a word salad, just to make you think, it's actually okay what happened. Like, you got to understand the context of that violent attack. It wasn't really that bad. It's worth bringing it up because there are a couple of really important points.
I'll see if it's...
have you lost it? Because I can summarize a few bits.
I've got to bring it up over here. Keep talking. I'll bring it up.
Yeah. Okay. So, where are we? So one of the things that they do when they are trying to explain, okay, this is who Andy Ngo was, they refer to the fact that apparently he doxed an Antifa member. At no point in the article do they point out that Antifa, that's their modus operandi. Yeah. They dox everybody. They've said, this guy doxed one person. Therefore, you can understand why these Antifa members wanted to attack him, because it leaves them open to reprisals by white supremacists. They don't mention the fact that Antifa do that all the time. They call people's work.
Okay, here we go.
They put their pictures up all over the internet. They post people's addresses, and they encourage violence against people as well.
So where do you want to go to in this article?
Okay, so if we just look at the first few paragraphs, the way I would summarize this is that they're trying to be even-handed. They're trying to appear like they're even-handed. They're saying, okay, this is what the conservatives say about it. This is what the other side say about it. And so that's the way they're trying to present it. But then they omit these important factors in order to actually skew the narrative one way. So, this for example, in footage captured by Portland-based reporter Jim Ryan, demonstrators doused Ngo in milkshake, punch him and yell at him. In short, it looks a lot like an unprovoked, unjustified, reprehensible assault on an observer, a journalist, merely because protesters don't like him. But in the aftermath of the attack, the narratives both sides have spun out of basic facts established by the footage is much trickier to assess. So they're trying to put doubt in our mind about like what actually happened here. So there's another thing that they left out. So yeah, they said, okay, he doxed an Antifa member. They are basically trying to paint. Oh, here we go. They're painting the Proud Boys as like a violent group. They don't point out the fact that the Proud Boys basically came into operation because they figured somebody needs to stand up to the violence committed by Antifa members against any kind of conservative who tries to organize in public. They're basically presenting the Proud Boys as just a violent organization. Yeah. There's another really.
Oh, do you want me to bring it back up?
Yeah, bring it back up.
All right.
Okay, so they spend a lot of time just going over the fact that like all these mainstream figures have actually called out Antifa on their violence, but then they have this. But according to a second narrative, offered primarily by less well-known left liberal writers and social media accounts, the mainstream media is getting it all wrong. Ngo is not an innocent victim but a far-right sympathizer, blah, blah, blah. So that first sentence is really vital, because the really important thing that they leave out, they do not mention this at all in their summary of who Andy Ngo is. They don't mention the fact that he's the editor of Quillette magazine, who produced an article which basically showed the web of collusion between mainstream media journalists and Antifa. If we remember, like a little while ago, the mainstream media.
Can I bring it back up?
Yeah, let's look at that Quillette article itself, because we remember when there was the alternative influence report on like basically all the supposed far right YouTubers. And so this is on screen. Yeah. And so they had that map showing the nodes of who all the most important far-right YouTubers were. Quillette even, like, they did this themselves. They created a map where, like, all those little nodes that you see, those mainstream media journalists who all have lots and lots of links to anarchists and people in Antifa. And so basically this is the reason why Antifa went after Andy Ngo. It wasn't because he's connected supposedly to white supremacists. It wasn't because he doxed one Antifa member, even though they dox everybody all the time. And this is why Vox have written this article. It's because he's showing the deep links between Antifa and the mainstream media. And he's showing the deep links between Antifa and basically the establishment, the government. And they're trying to portray, this Vox article is trying to portray Antifa as a group which is like just defending minorities against the violence of white supremacists, when really Antifa are basically the stormtroopers of the establishment. They're there to basically intimidate any kind of conservative into challenging the globalist status quo. That's what they're about. And so, yeah, what Vox are doing, they're just trying to maintain control of the narrative. Like at one point they actually say, yes, we understand that Antifa don't always attack white supremacists, and they attack other people as well. And they make a point of condemning all violence. But the whole point of the article is to try to get us to the point where we think that maybe Andy Ngo deserved it, which is basically their whole modus operandi. It's amazing.
Yeah, good point.
And it was interesting that Jason Wilson, who's the most prominent, Antifa apologist,
Yes.
Journalist, he said like, "Oh, I'm going to take a break now. I've had surgery on my foot. I'm just
really?
going to rehab."
So, and he's actually lying low.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's a small victory, actually.
Mm.
Yes, that's incredible. Lucas Rosses has done a good job on that. I think I said this a few times. I found it really interesting. In the months leading up to that actual Quillette article, which got Andy Ngo all that attention from Antifa, I noticed a number of old Lucas Rosses articles on the XYZ getting a lot of attention. Like they got about 1,000 views all up. So I think they actually used a lot of his research, which was that was quite pleasing.
What else have we got on there? Any more to say on Antifa?
No.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, that'll do.
I wanted to talk about something which, or probably should have been like a major story this week. Do you all know who Senator James Patterson is?
I didn't, but
He was actually one of the people who sent me an Australian flag.
Oh, nice.
Very recently, actually, I emailed him, and I've actually met him before in Canberra. We had a beer together quite a while ago.
you're
Great
sending
guy.
Maddie one of those flags, yeah?
Yes, I told you guys. Text me your address, David,
Yeah.
and I'll send
We'll
you
do
one.
it. We'll do it.
Yeah.
So he used to work at the IPA and is now a Liberal senator. He's still relatively young, I think early 30s. Now, Father Rod Bow, who he's the virtue
Yeah.
signaller.
We all know who he is.
Yeah, priest from the Gosford.
He's not a priest, and he's not an Anglican.
Well,
I think I know what you're going to say, Tim. I think I know what you're going to say about the Jews criticising Rod Bauer. Is that right?
Yes, because he put out this tweet on Monday night when James Patterson was on Q&A, which is said, "Who says the ABC is too far to the left? Q&A has that nice young man from the Hitler Youth on tonight."
So James Patterson is Hitler Youth. I understand. I'm not defending the Jews here, but I would be offended if I was Jewish. If I was Jewish, I would be absolutely offended. I don't blame them for being offended. I mean, that is just so ridiculous. I mean,
Like he's actually the biggest Zionist in the parliament. Like he's a huge supporter of Israel, and it's the old thing that anyone who's right wing must be. Must have Nazi sympathies, and this wasn't even an original insult because this all originated in. He was trading barbs, James Patterson, in Senate estimates with Labor Senator Kim Carr. And Patterson made some joke, it was either French or Russian revolutionary, and Kim Carr said oh, you'd know that over at the Hitler Youth, and then Patterson's like, how dare you, and then and then Carr's like, well, you just threw a bucket of shit at me, oh, I withdraw, you precious petal.
Also, this isn't the, was it Rod Bauer? I might be mistaken on this. Somebody referred to Manus, and they were saying, "Oh, this is how the Holocaust started."
Yeah.
As well. Was that Rod Bauer as well?
He's probably said something.
Yeah, and that because the Jewish group in Australia made a fuss over that as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're right. Yeah, it's coming back
during
to
the
me now.
Medivac thing. I think it was during Medivac. One of the doctors said something like that, and then the Jews got angry. And you can't blame them. I mean, they're trivializing the Holocaust. I mean, it's fair enough where they're coming from. And the thing about the Rabbi Foreskin just said they're disgusting. Oh, mate, Rabbi Foreskin. I love that guy. Anyway, the thing about the Hitler Youth, because I actually read a lot about how the Hitler Youth operated, and these people were fundamentally collectivists. The Hitler Youth were fundamentally collectivists, and I read a story which really amazed me when I was younger, when I was reading up on Hitler Youth. They would actually dob in their parents. So Hitler Youth would actually dob in their parents to the government if they were sort of mentioned any anti-government or anti-Hitler sort of comments in the household. So they put Hitler and the state above their own family, just like the Chinese during the Cultural Revolution did, dobbed in their parents who were anti-Mao Zedong, and probably even the Russians did, And James Patterson represents the complete opposite of the way the Hitler Youth operated. He is a staunch individualist. He doesn't have time for these collectivist, state-first family second sort of patriarchal structures and for society. I mean, these people just throw anything out there. It doesn't even make sense. I mean, it's offensive. It is offensive, and I'm surprised James hasn't actually.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I haven't seen any of his
No,
statements. Of him
he hasn't. He hasn't made.
something.
There was one of the Jewish
Yeah,
groups demanded an apology, but he himself hasn't said anything about it, which I expect he would. But have a look what James Patterson looks like. Like, see, like blonde hair, blue eyes.
Yeah.
He sort of looks like like a really like scrawny, skinny version of Blair Cottrell.
Yeah. Nah, that's good.
He looks like a Nazi Ken doll.
Though if like somebody like said like like accused that to me like, oh, like you're a member of the Hitler Youth, I'd say, oh, excuse me, like I'm a member of Pinochet's Helicopter Academy.
Yeah,
That would have been that would have
yeah,
actually been a more
yeah.
witty comeback than just referring to the Hitler one. So what else have we got? Are you all aware of political posting Mama Mariki Ranci?
Yeah.
I heard some things about her. What happened?
Yeah, so she about a year and a half ago, she posted photos on her Facebook page of some workers at -18, like sort of what they sort of got up to in their spare time, and sort of saying, I should have said, this is like, look at this rabbit hole, and one of the photos that she posted of one of these girls sued her for defamation because there were all these comments underneath, like, which accused her of like being a pedophile and that, and so Mariki Ranci had to settle for $100,000 because of comments that were made on that post. And are you all aware of that decision recently? Because Dylan Voller, hang on, I've got a Dylan Voller, he's suing 3 of the major media companies for defamation based on comments that were like underneath stories about Dylan Voller, and a judge has ruled that publishers are liable for comments that are on like Facebook pages.
Is that New South Wales?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
It could be an interesting way of getting in the back door, a way of getting maybe like the actual platforms themselves to be responsible for comments. Yeah, like, because there's that whole publisher platform.
Well, Facebook doesn't give you the option to like disable comments.
It doesn't.
Because Mariki Ranci, she had to pin an apology to this girl as part of the settlement,
Right.
and she has to stay up for 60 days and no comments are allowed underneath. So basically, like, she's got to delete like all the comments that are put underneath,
Yeah, right.
like, because you can't disable them on Facebook.
Yes.
So she has to be vigilant for like 60 days to make sure that there's nothing like.
Yeah. The same thing happened with Bernie Gaynor. I think people made comments, and that guy, that gay activist in New South Wales.
Yeah, well, he's got to go back
court.
to court again. I'm not sure if you're on Bernard Gaynor's mailing list, but
I am,
yeah, he's got to go through this all
Yep.
again.
Yeah, he had a small victory some time ago, but I felt sorry for him because I saw it on Gab. He had a statement or something, and
Yeah.
this guy he had to sell his house and stuff, and
Yeah, he's got
only
8 kids.
He's got 20 grand left in cash, and I think he lives in his car or something. I don't know. He is really not where he should be, and it's just so sad because it's like, what's this country come to? I mean, it's really sad that he's an intelligence officer. He's really intelligent, and he served his country, and he got fired for no bloody reason. And he proved that the Mardi Gras is like a political statement, and that goes against the standards of the ADF. And then he just gets fired. It's ridiculous.
He
man.
got
Like, this country is
discharged
just-
from the ADF.
Mate, it makes me very angry, and I just hope him all the best, because I think that I wish we could have like a GoFundMe. Like, I wish Israel Folau could like literally just attach himself. Like, I was actually hoping, by some miracle that they can get together somehow, and Israel Folau can actually do a crowdfund for Bernie, and just explain, bring to light what Bernie has been through, and then I think a lot of Australians would basically, by associating Israel and Bernie together, a lot of Australians actually say, okay, that guy seems he's a soldier. He's been through a lot. It's not. It's very similar to Israel's circumstances. Let's give him some money as well because, he could definitely use the money, Bernie.
Yeah, this is why, I was thinking exactly the same thing. They shouldn't put a limit on Israel Folau's fundraiser. It should basically be a fighting fund for these cultural war battles. Because again, this is why, like on Monday, Matthew and we dismantled a piece by Tim Shitpossum.
I saw that.
Yeah,
that was great.
Yeah, where he was talking about, this is what like the right wing do. They find a cause célèbre, make a big fuss over it, and then push on that. Like he was totally projecting on that. But yeah, this is what we do. Like now we have somebody who is loved all across Australia and has the ability to draw a lot of attention, and who people are prepared to give a lot of money to. If he wants to fight for our right to say what we think, he can win this battle against Rugby Australia and then the sponsors of Rugby Australia, and then he can keep that fighting fund going. And other people who these leftists are trying to ruin their lives, he can fight for them too.
Mariki Rancy, she's opened up a donation portal. She opened up that last night. It's already raised 8,000, so sort of people have
but it's not nowhere near enough though, and that's the thing is that it's good, but I think, David, you're right, and I wish that they could put a cap, 3 million was the target, and then you're right, it should be an ongoing thing, and then once you hit the cap, 3 million, after that, anyone who donates knows that the money that they donate won't necessarily be used for Israel, and therefore they'll know that, I'm happy for it to go to a similar cause like Bernie or political posting mama. So they should have a cap saying the first 3 million will go to Israel, and anything more than that will go to other causes in the future, or whatever.
But basically just make it a permanent fighting fund, because it's one of the ways that the left have cemented their cultural gains. They basically have an unlimited supply of money.
Basically, Egg Boy got his lawyer for free.
They get free. Even if they don't have any money, they get pro bono sort of stuff. If we want to fight the cultural war, make a fighting fund, make it a permanent fighting fund.
At least 6 million. At least 6 million.
I'm thinking 100 million. It just go nuts.
So speaking of legal matters, so Neil Erikson, or Senator Slayer, is in the chat tonight. He's been charged for disrupting religious service at the when he was.
I'm so bloody slow. God.
Yeah, Islamic prayers when he said Muhammad is a false prophet.
Sorry, I wasn't listening to the last 30 seconds. I was not listening to the last 30 seconds. Start it all again.
So it happened a couple of months ago, and Vic Pol have just decided to charge him now. So it's a summary offence. So it's sort of but it's just another thing.
They don't stop. So we all need a fighting fund. I think 6 million is a good figure.
And
didn't Tarrant disrupt religious services? Why didn't he get charged for that as well? I'm just surprised why they didn't throw that in there as well.
If they're going to throw the book at somebody,
I'm pretty sure that would qualify. Anyway.
And we still have Blair Cottrell's appeal against his blasphemy conviction that's coming up in August. I heard there's still sort of one more mention that's coming up. There's still sort of a lot of sort of nationalist battles that are coming.
Fighting fund. It's needed. There is actually one more bit from the Vox article, which we could bring up. It's it gets a little.
Do you want me to bring it up?
Oh, we can if we want. If we want to keep going just a little bit longer.
We're bringing up the Vox one.
So it has to do with the James Fields, because they always bring up this. Basically, one of the ways that they have sort of painted Antifa violence as it's in response to apparent violence from the far right, the so-called far right. What they don't point out is that like these supposed far right, so-called far right demonstrations are basically just conservatives who are upset about violence from African gangs, or like just like attack after attack after attack from Muslims, and it's actually Antifa who basically are always the ones who instigate the violence, and any kind of self-defense is labeled as basically terrorism on the part of the far right. I'm trying to find the bit where they actually mention James Fields. Just bear with me. Oh, here we go. Okay, CNN's Jake Tapper, for example, argued that this was part of a broader pattern of Antifa violence, retweeting an interview with Ngo, in which he compares Antifa to the neo-Nazi who killed Heather Heyer in Charlottesville in 2017. But then it continues, but Antifa has not committed a single murder, at least that we're aware of. If you Google Antifa and murder, or put it into DuckDuckGo, there are lots of examples that come up. It seems that they always try to minimize the links between killers and Antifa when it actually does happen. But this bit about when he compares Antifa to the neo-Nazi who killed Heather Heyer in Charlottesville in 2017. If you go to the XYZ, we actually looked at let's go there. We actually looked at the fact that James Fields has been convicted and sentenced to life in prison for the apparent murder of Heather Heyer. He didn't actually hit her with the car. She actually died of a heart attack. And
Well, you also said like she was, because she was an unhealthy weight.
yeah, she was just a little bit fat. What's really interesting, when you look at the actual footage, you can actually see that James Fields was actually braking, and when he hit the people, he then reversed away. So like what we understand about every like truck of peace attack is that these trucks just keep on going and they don't stop until the driver gets taken out. So if this was a terrorist attack, a deliberate attempt to kill people, why did he stop and why did he reverse? If the brakes are lit, you must have quit. That's the meme that's come out from it. What's also really, really interesting is that there was an article in Australian media about this guy who is part of this guy Dwayne Dixon, who is part of a group called Redneck. What are they called again?
Redneck Rebellion.
Redneck Rebellion. They're Antifa linked, and they were talking about how like they're actually doing gun training, all this sort of stuff. And it has him here toting an automatic weapon, and there's a little bit from a social media post. Dwayne Dixon, a University of North Carolina anthropology professor and leader of the armed Antifa group Redneck Revolt, has admitted to chasing James Alex Fields Jr. with a rifle just before he drove into a group of protesters, killing Heather Heyer. So the evidence that we present here is that James Fields was actually attacked by Antifa and basically put his foot on the gas of a very powerful car, lost control, ran into a crowd of people. And like here we have like evidence that he was actually in fear for his life because there was somebody with a machine gun. And so when we go back to like the Vox article and it's referring to him as the neo-Nazi who killed Heather Heyer, basically what we have here is the typical left-wing approach of presenting a supposed crime by the right wing, amplifying it, and then that becomes the basis of everything that happens afterwards. So if we take your you know, you don't want to be called a member of the Hitler Youth, but like, yes, you'll be called a member of Pinochet's helicopter squad. The left have just blown the murders of communists by the Pinochet regime. They've blown that out of all proportion. It was several thousand.
Yeah.
The way the left go on about it, you'd think it was 100,000. The same thing happened with the Spanish Civil War. They paint the Franco regime as like mass murdering tyrants, when like the communists, they killed hundreds of thousands in the Spanish Civil War. When we compare, say, the Holocaust to the Holodomor killed 7 million at least 7 million ethnic Ukrainians, and that was before the Holocaust was committed. And 50 to 60 more Russians were killed by the communist regime, and about a similar number of Chinese by the communist regime. Yet the left focus on that one supposed act by a supposed right-wing regime. So it's what the left are doing here with the James Fields incident. Like, they're basically taking that one thing, saying, oh, look, it happened. Like, a neo-Nazi killed a whole bunch of people. When, like, the actual facts of the matter, like, you actually look at the evidence, it looks like he didn't actually mean to kill the people. But, like, that one event is going to be just, like, they're going to bring that up again and again and again and again and again.
Well, they claim that Antifa hasn't killed anyone. Like, that's the difference.
Well, the evidence that we actually present, you can actually say that Antifa actually have the blood of their own people, the blood of Heather Heyer on their hands, because they scared the living daylights out of a guy who then panicked, was in a high-powered car, put his foot on the pedal, and lost control of it and ran into a crowd of people. The blood is on their hands. Yet they will blame the right for this.
Well,
and it's been
Antifa,
used
they would, like, kill people if they could.
Yeah, it's amazing that they haven't killed anybody.
Well, like, have you seen what Antifa look like? Let's bring up.
Yeah, let's bring up the photo.
Where is it? No, it's not that. Oh yeah, I'll bring it up here. Oh yeah, so I posted this on Gab. Is this are these Antifa, or is this an after meth mugshot?
It should be noted that these Antifa members, these were actually arrested a couple of years ago in another Antifa riot.
Yeah, not
in Portland.
from Saturday.
Yeah,
But yeah.
but it's amazing. There's another bunch of mugshots of Antifa members, but you look at these people, like, you've got a whole bunch of NPCs, just complete soys, just like complete wastes of space. And then there's always one guy who looks like the psychopath ringleader. Look at that guy, top middle.
Yeah, it looks like Charles Manson.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. They probably got armpit hair and everything, the girls at least.
Yeah, I can't say the guys.
Yeah.
One thing that I mentioned it to you guys earlier this week, it's because like YouTube censorship and algorithm manipulation, it's been in the news lately. And one thing I've noticed with YouTube lately, you're aware of the theory that Michelle Obama is a man, Michael Obama.
Yes.
There used to be heaps of YouTube
was born in
videos,
Kenya,
analyzing, her physique, and like, then of course there were the videos of, Alex Jones, like, look, you can see like a cucumber between her legs. If you type in now into YouTube, Michelle Obama is a man,
Yes.
nothing comes up.
You should do that on the thing. Like, you can bring it up. Bring up YouTube and let's do that. Let's test it out.
And also, are you also aware that Joan Rivers, 2 weeks before she died, she said that, Michelle Obama is a tranny? And so that's the theory that, because she told the truth, all those videos have been deleted as well. Like,
yeah, right. Let's check it out. Let's bring up YouTube.
All right. It's... All right, Michelle Obama is a man. So Joan Rivers joke. Ellen and Michelle Obama break it down. Michelle Obama and her husband's... Yeah, see?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Or if I type in Joan Rivers Shell Adam. See, it doesn't come up.
Yeah, wow.
It's just that CNN thing. That's
Yeah,
the only
right.
thing. Like, it's all mainstream stuff.
Yeah, okay. Yep. Okay, so as usual, they don't want you to see it. What's been amazing for me the last couple of weeks, I don't want to... Maddie's summarised it pretty well. But whenever I'm watching a YouTube clip of like one of my favourite YouTubers, I always have to make sure that I stop it before it automatically goes to the next piece, because the next video is always a mainstream media video.
And
Like they'll have like other videos by YouTubers that I want to watch after that, but the next one is always a mainstream media. You were going to say?
well, like, I don't believe that Michelle Obama's a man, but like, there's nothing wrong with exploring the theory. Like, is this like, well, they believe like all these like conspiracy theories like are dangerous now, and so like, why can't you, you know, if you're just like curious about it, like, are we going to ban like all conspiracy theory, you know, things now?
Yeah, well, like I've said, like they're basically getting rid of one of the main reasons I love YouTube. It's the YouTube rabbit hole. Like you start off like wanting to like watch something about how like a rocket is produced, and like 5 videos later, like 2 videos later, you're like you're on alien conspiracy theory stuff. Like that's why YouTube is amazing. And yeah, they're just destroying that.
Yeah,
aspect.
and do you know what's also been deleted? Have you ever seen the Hillary is Evil remix?
No.
No, well, it was just Hillary Clinton like cackling, and when she said about Gaddafi, we came, we saw, he died. That's
Yeah,
been deleted. That's been deleted now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Just wow. It's like just that ever encroaching boiling of the frog. I was saying the other day, if the left's one of the left's greatest weapons is that they've actually learnt from history in one respect. They understand that you cannot push too quickly. Like, they don't just kick us all off all of the channels altogether. Like, it's always a little bit here, a little bit there. Like, it's Blair's bank account one week, the next week it's just Neil getting like just another summons. It's Maddie getting kicked off one week, it's like us getting bans another week. It's like bit by bit they do it. And it's in the same way with the culture. Like, they're pushing harder and harder, but that's because they're getting more and more control. Like, we're always talking about, you know, like, when are we going to reach that tipping point? Like, maybe we've got one with Folau, but one of the things is that they just keep ramping it up every decade. Like, I talk to people who are younger than me, and they talk about the 1990s or even the early 2000s as though they were an era when there was freedom and you could make jokes about things. But I remember the shift from the 1980s to the 1990s, and I remember the shift from the 1990s to the 2000s. And I remember back in the 1980s, which now I see as like heaven on earth. I remember my parents were talking about how bad things have become since the 70s or the 60s. So they just keep ramping it up. And so that's what they're doing here as well. Like, they're at the point now where they can just use the algorithm to get rid of stuff that mocks important left-wing figures. That's amazing.
And it basically confirms like that Google, they're
Evil.
actively taking steps to make sure Trump 2020 doesn't happen.
Yeah, they're trying to avoid another Trump moment. Yeah.
So if you want to view, you know, all this like rabbit hole stuff, you've got to go, well, BitChute. There is like now a social media campaign to get BitChute unblocked in Australia.
Yeah, good.
I mean, it is so outrageous that our ISPs think they know better than us.
Yeah. I want to start a campaign to get the ABC kicked off social media, actually, because they're an anti-white hate organisation who promote conspiracy theories like the gender pay gap and conspiracy theories like climate change.
Well, it is the 4th of July today, which is American Independence Day.
Yeah, good.
Which is... Oh, it's,
Happy birthday, America. Yeah.
It's one of the few... the left, they try to attack it every year, but 4th of July is too big over there.
Currently.
Yeah, I fully endorse Plessy versus Ferguson. Whoever doesn't know what that is should Google Plessy versus Ferguson, and just you'll see why. But Google Plessy versus Ferguson in America. It's a great event in American history. I just wish they didn't repeal it at some point afterwards, because it basically laid the framework for segregation, basically in America. And I just think we really need that here in Australia, because things are getting really out of hand with all the intermixing of races here.
That's
Yeah.
maybe what we should talk about for a bit, like the Democrat debates. Have any of you watched any of those?
No, I just know that
No?
they tried to outdo each other to, like, be more socialist than the other person. Basically, that's all I know.
A few of the more noteworthy candidates is that Marianne Williamson. She's the one that, like, says like the things like basically we need like love and like just these like she's
Is she
like
a hippie?
champion of like the motherhood statements.
Yeah, it would be nice if they actually championed motherhood, huh? Motherhood statements without the motherhood. That's that's the left for you. Weren't you saying that Julie Bishop, like, she never had children? Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, we haven't talked about that. Was
Yeah.
this is how you know I'm sick, because I'm just forgetting things. Yeah, we're going to talk about Christopher Pyne and Julie Bishop. So
Yeah.
Christopher Pyne was the defence minister.
Mm-hmm.
He retired because he thought that the Liberals were going to lose, and because he's in
And he wanted
old-
to spend more time with his family.
Yeah. Well, because he's in the old parliamentary pension system.
Yeah.
If he retires when he's a minister, he gets a higher pension.
Yeah,
Where if he
right.
lost, and he was a backbencher, he'd get
Yes.
less of a pension.
Okay, right.
So he retired, like, he's in his early 50s, but he's been in Parliament for like 25 years. So, he retired so, he would get the maximum parliamentary pension.
Yeah, Christopher, I swear my account was hacked. Pine.
Yeah.
I just thought it was the most epic troll when, because for those who don't know, like on one of the election nights, after the coalition won, that night Christopher Pine's Twitter account apparently liked some gay porn, and so
He claimed he was hacked. So
claimed it was hacked.
what I've been told by insiders is that what is this, like, it came from his phone. So if it was hacked, someone took his phone, like, got into his phone, liked the gay porn, and then gave the phone back to him.
Yeah, seems legit. I just loved the troll from Corey Bernardi where he asked in Parliament for like an investigation to be done, because it's a big deal. Like, if like this guy has an important ministerial role in the defence industry, if his account is being hacked, like ASIO to look into it.
Yeah. He said we need to find how far and deep this penetration has been.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, it's vital. But yeah, so he's resigned his job and he's got a job in like the defence.
EY.
EY,
EY.
which is a defence lobbying. Apparently he's doing was a couple of days a month.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, which you're not supposed to,
pretty
the
high
ministerial guidelines, like 18 months, like after you've quit, you're not supposed to take a lobbying job where you've got, like, you're able to have, like, information, access to information, that's advantageous. Because, like, Pyne, if he's consulting for a defence company, which obviously wants, like, more defence contracts, he, like, knows, like, a lot more about, what's recently been happening.
Yeah.
Which is...
Yeah, so this is... It's serious because, like, Christopher Pyne is one of the guys who, like, when we point to people who dragged the Liberal Party to the left, he's one of the people that we point the finger at. Like, the guy's not a conservative.
He's a fake conservative. Like,
Yeah.
When Tony Abbott was the leader, he was the leader of the House, tried to be sort of the loyal guy. But as soon as there was an opportunity to stab Abbott, he did.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's one of the people who stabbed Abbott as well. And, it doesn't look good. Like, here's a guy who looks like he's... Like, it does... You've got to look not corrupt as well, and like that looks like a case of corruption. Yeah,
and Julie Bishop, the former foreign minister,
the childless former
a
foreign
born again
minister.
feminist. Remember, she didn't call herself a feminist when she was she was doing all right, but after she got 11 votes, she's like, we need more, women in the parliament to lead to a more harmonious parliament and cabinet.
Yeah, apparently, like, there was a piece that came out. I'm not sure if it was her who said it or one of the other females in the cabinet. They were saying that, like, they had like a little bit of a club and they made a point of, like, when another female would make a suggestion in cabinet or in the party room, the other females would make a point of supporting her. So they were actually like supporting each other on the basis that has vagina rather than actually has good idea. But yeah, so she's done the same thing. Like,
she's working for an aid agency now.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I love the fact, like you were saying, that the Liberal Party, like, they're happy to sort of actually kick off the proceedings. Like, what was the wording that you said?
Yeah, so I should bring up the story. Did I bring it up? Oh yeah, here we go. Oh, I hate this new XSplit system. It's paywalled. Damn it.
But basically, like, the Liberal Party, rather than sort of like just kicking it in the nuts straight away and saying, no, we're not going to, there's no problem, they're like, okay, we'll
yeah.
look.
Yeah, I mean, well, Pine and Bishop, they have like plenty of enemies in the Liberal Party. So the Centre Alliance senators and a few others have said, like, oh, well, we want an inquiry into this. And of course, Labor, they're wanting to, and so they're seeking advice at the moment, the government, about, if they've breached the ministerial guidelines. But there's enough, like Erica Betts and Tony Passon, who are enemies of Pine and Bishop, have said, this is not a good look. We need to look at it. So basically, they've pissed enough people off on their own side. It's like, oh yeah, sure, we'll investigate. Yeah, this is, not good at all.
Yeah, opportunists.
Well, Julie Bishop, apparently she's now on the speaking circuit. She's doing some leaders retreat. I think it's in Fiji. You can spend a weekend learning leadership skills from her, paying thousands of dollars, like have a weekend with her. And she's also wanting to do her own talk show, like conversations, interview people like Jacinda Ardern.
I would not want to be on a Pacific island with that
baby.
woman.
That's the first topic. How not to have a baby. How not to have a family.
Jacinda Ardern managed to squeeze one out.
Yeah. How to just sacrifice all the things that matter in life to almost become Prime Minister because he stabbed somebody in the back. Yeah.
Yeah. I just got. This is not me talking, but I'm just getting a lot of text messages from Neil Erikson. He even tried calling me, which I didn't answer. He says we should talk about Kwaku. Now, that's not me talking, but
it's been in the chat all night. For some reason, he just wants
to talk about Kwaku. Do you guys have anything to say about that or not?
Well, Kwaku is his claim to fame is that he's Dia's friend, and it's been on a few of her live streams.
Okay. Is he the guy, like, I saw Blair having a debate with him a little while ago? I don't know much about him. Like, I haven't seen any of his streams or anything like that. Maybe you guys can talk more about that.
I just got one word of advice for people out there, and take this the way you want it, but in Australia, bestiality is illegal. I'm just putting it out there, not naming any names. Bestiality is illegal in Australia. Take what you want from that. I'll leave it at that. Anyway, let's move on.
Either move on or wind up.
Yeah. Anyone else got any topics?
I'm done.
Yeah.
Well, actually, on a more serious note, if we're ending now, I've actually got a poem, if you don't mind me reading, from
sure.
Henry Lawson. And it's got to do, we've spoken today about, all these people, whether they're in government or Google, trying to control who we are and our freedom of speech. There's a famous poem from Henry Lawson. I recommend everyone Google it right now. That way they can read it with me. It's called Freedom on the Wallaby. So just open a new tab. Type in Freedom on the Wallaby by Henry Lawson. And I'll just read it out. And definitely have a look at it in your own time so you can analyse it better. But I'll just read it out. It's a short poem, so it won't take too long. Freedom on the Wallaby. Australia's a big country, and freedom's humping bluey. And freedom's on the Wallaby. Oh, don't you hear her cooey? She's just begun to boomerang. She'll knock the tyrants silly. She's going to light another fire and boil another billy. Our fathers toiled for bitter bread, while loafers thrived beside them. But food to eat and clothes to wear, their native land denied them. And so they left their native land, in spite of their devotion. And so they come, or if they stole, were sent across the ocean. Then freedom couldn't stand the glare of royalty's regalia. She left the loafers where they were and come out to Australia. But now across the mighty main, the chains have come to bind her. She little thought to see again the wrongs she left behind her. Our parents toiled to make a home, hard grubbin', twas and clearin'. They wasn't crowded much with lords when they was pioneerin'. And now that we have made the land a garden full of promise, old greed must crook his dirty hand and come to take it from us. So we must fly a rebel flag, as others did before us, and we must sing a rebel song and join in rebel chorus. We'll make the tyrants feel the sting of those they would throttle. They needn't say the fault is ours, if blood should stain the wattle. Henry Lawson, May 1891.
Wow.
So that last paragraph in particular, I think everyone should definitely analyse in their own time, because right now we're being controlled by a lot of traitors, so-called Australians, international bureaucrats. But one day all these people are going to pay the price, and they can't blame us when blood does stain the wattle, when the time comes.
Now, on XYZ Live, you've managed a way to... Well, you haven't got 1,000 subscribers on the Matty Rose live channel, but you found a way to do super chats.
Yes.
And it has a smaller cut than YouTube.
Yeah, I kind of remember what it's called, but we'll use it. We should
Yeah,
use it for
yeah.
us.
And Matty
It worked pretty well.
has already sent it to me, encouraging us to use it for this. But like I said, I've been sick, so I haven't done much.
Yeah, it seemed to work pretty well. Some people couldn't get it to work, and Matty can push pretty hard. Hey, everybody get on this, and some people didn't like that. But it worked pretty well for the people who got on it. I reckon it's a good way of going about it. Yeah.
Yeah, they can. Give me some stronger medication.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, everybody. Timmy needs money for drugs.
Well, I am Australian medications apparently, so...
And Australian masturbations. And next week, the Uncockables website will be ready, and along with all the episodes will be in podcast form. So
good.
That'll also be very exciting. There'll be a central place to go to the Uncockables, and I'm in the process of uploading all the old episodes up to BitChute.
Yeah, brilliant. Also, hopefully on Saturday, on XYZ, we've got an article which has been prepared, where somebody has analysed the vote in the upper house of the minor parties, and shown how their representation is actually dropped dramatically compared to their vote, and showing how the new voting system which has come into place has actually disenfranchised a lot of Australians. So it's worth checking out as well.
So check out the XYZ, continue to check out the Unshackled. Hopefully I'm well enough to start pumping out more content that I made it through tonight. Where's Australian Meditations at because obviously you've been banned from Facebook, YouTube.
Right now I'm just really busy and I haven't had a chance to create a BitChute account and bother to do it. But the thing is, all my videos are actually backed up already. So if you go on my Gab account and look at my previous posts the last 2 weeks, you'll see that some American guy has backed up all my videos already on this weird website. So I actually messaged him and asked him, "Oh, thanks for that. How you do it?" And he basically, if you go on the website on the homepage, it's full of like all these banned channels, like a lot of David Duke channels, a lot of neo-Nazi channels as well. And then you just search for my channel, Australian in the search bar, and you'll see that literally every video has been backed up, and it hasn't sacrificed quality. All the quality is still there. So it's kind of already backed up already. But I've still got like 20 videos I haven't uploaded yet, which I was planning to until I got banned. So if and when BitChute gets unbanned, or I'll just have to create my own sort of what's it called, VPN, and just bypass it. But it'll happen eventually. Just right now, I'm just really busy, but it'll happen eventually. But just for those people who want to access the videos from back in the day, go to my Gab account, and you'll see there's a link there at some point in the last few weeks where everything has been backed up. So it's all good, it's all safe, and I already got them all on my external hard drive anyway. So I'll eventually back them up myself as well. Yep.
They've launched the new Gab today because 4th of July was when they're launching. I'm not sure if you've been on Gab today.
Yep.
Yeah, it's all changed the layout now. It's going to take a bit of a while to get used to, but it's based on, I think, this open source like microblogging software called Macedon. Apparently it's full of like, you know how Tumblr banned all the porn? Like that's where all the like Tumblr like porn people have gone. So it's interesting that Gab's there as well.
Mm.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, so Gab is in. Are you saying this is on Gab, or this is Gab on something else?
Yeah. Gab's using like a different like the same software that like other people are using.
Okay.
And apparently like it's a shortcut for them to get on app stores.
Yeah, great. Yeah, we'll take Gab mainstream. The way things are going, the XYZ will soon have more Gab followers than Twitter followers. So I'm encouraging everybody to get on Gab.
Yeah.
Get a VPN and get on us.
We're nearly there as well,
Yeah.
and Unshackled's also on Telegram. We continue to grow there. XYZ needs to get on Telegram.
We were on Telegram, but then
Yeah, and Australian Meditations is on Telegram.
I've only got 24 followers so far.
Yeah, it's just your thoughts of the day.
Yeah, it's all over the place. But if you're on Telegram, start following me as well. I've only got 24 followers so far.
Everyone's on Telegram now until they ban it from the App Store, which they probably will.
it's only a matter of time.
All right, I've got a cough now, so thanks everyone for watching. Oh no, you do the goodbye, Matt.
Okay. Thanks everybody for listening to episode 1788. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for continuing to read the XYZ. Thanks for donating to us on Patreon. Make Australia grouse again. It's okay to be white, and we must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children. Over and out.
Yeah. Bye.
The Uncackables.